Take your money. Why are you bringing money here? You know, Radhakund. This big Radhakund, restoration, and money is please take. You know what I said? Yes. How do you know I wanted to do this? Because Narayan came in my dream. Another stranger. Then he got up and said, how come he doesn't come in my dream? Why he comes in your dream? I've been waiting here for the last so much. Then he said, you please sit here and you make the account. You manage the construction. I will Babaji, I will say Hare Krishna. But I will tell you how big it is. So this question, for the past 6 months he did no business. He became a Babaji too, finally. After Radhakund was made very nicely, and there were these trees, Pandavas were living as trees there, and they were very nicely given a seat and everything, and Radhakund was shining once more, and the very Babaji started chanting. When Krishna Kaviraj came to Madan Mohan gave Krishna Kaviraj blessing, and then he came to Raghunath and he sat down every day and he listened to Chaitanya's pastimes, which we now see in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then finally chanting Hare Krishna. In between so many other pastimes happened, but since it is too late, we won't get into that. And Raghunath Goswami went back home, back to Goddess. In Ganesh Tripitaka, it's mentioned that he is Rati Manjari, one of the Manjaris. So, Raghunath Goswami too. Hare Krishna. Since it is too late, we are just stopping here. Appearance there of Sripad Madhvacharya. Most important thing is this. This is not this or victory. This means soul is different from God. So, about 6 centuries ago, we have to take you 6 centuries back. Very difficult, but we can try. So get ready, we're going to take you 600 years back. Alright, so we are in Udupi and we are 6 centuries back. And we are in Ananteshwara temple. Ananteshwara is a Shiva temple. In this temple, around the daily room, Shivalinga room, there is veranda. There is one veranda, there is a Swami is sitting, like this. And he is stooping like this. And he is giving a lecture. What lecture he is giving? He is giving a lecture on Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavata Puran. Purana Mamalam. Uncontaminated book, which is about the 3 modes of nature. So this Srinivasi was very famous during that time. His spiritual name was Ananta Tirtha. He was also known as Purna Prajna, means absolute conscious, absolutely conscious person, Purna Prajna. His commentary on Brahma Sutra was known as Purna Prajna Darsana. Ananda Tirtha was his sannyasi name, and generally he is known by the name Sripad Madhvacharya. Madhvacharya too. So he is giving his Bhagavatam lecture. And he was a great singer too, and a great wrestler, and a great teacher. Sometimes, to please the rich people, because they want him to eat, he will eat prasad with 30 people will eat. 30 people's lunch he will eat himself. And banana stacks of bananas, 6 banana stacks, one breakfast. This was Madhvacharya, you can see this. Very big in figure too. Big wrestler also. And all these glories are there. So the whole host of devotees, Bhagavatas, they are all present and they are listening to his lecture. Not only that, because in the Ananteshwar temple compound, between the deity room and the compound, there is open space, and on the clouds are the devas. They are all sitting there on the clouds and looking down and very carefully hearing his lecture. And he is completing his lecture. And he was confirming that Krishna, that Hari, is the source of everything. So he came back to the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Janmādyasya yatonvayādisarakasya artesvadhigyasvarāya Janmādyasya yatonvayādisarakasya artesvadhigyasvarāya Brahma-hidaya adi-savage mukhyanti yasudayah Brahma-hidaya adi-savage mukhyanti yasudayah Tejavari-mridham yadha-vimaya yatra-trikado-mrita Dhamna-svena sadha-nirasta-kuvatam Satyam param dhimahi Satyam param dhimahi. Then from the clouds, the demigods, they clapped their hands, played the trumpet, made so much sound, and started showering flower on him. And the people who were around, they saw these flowers coming from nowhere. Where are these flowers coming from? The flowers are pouring. So the whole Swaramati got covered with flowers. There was a big flower mountain, and Swamiji was missing. He was inside. So then, all those Bhagavatas they got up, he said, Swamiji and flowers has become one. It cannot be one, it has to be two. So then they jumped up, they cleared the flowers, clearing, so much flowering there, and clearing everything, and then there. There was no Madhvacharya. He disappeared, and that's how he disappeared. And today that happened. Sripada Madhvacharya's disappearance. They only got flowers. So their samadhi is the real Pushpa samadhi. Nothing was left. So this is Madhvacharya, and this Madhvacharya, now we should know the connection between him and us. Madhvacharya is lying from Sripad Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri's disciple is Ishvara Puri. Ishvara Puri's disciple is who? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki. So Sri Chaitanya is Ishvara Puri's disciple. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he accepted initiation in Madhva Sampradaya because he was so pleased with Madhvacharya's preaching against the Mayavadis. He was so pleased, so he gave him a gift, all like Madhvacharya. I will accept initiation in your line. Why? Because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radha Krishna Nahe Anya. He is the Supreme Lord. Among the Supreme Lord's various incarnations and various moods and various positions and personalities, the topmost is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because in Vaikuntha you find there is Aishwarya, opulence. In Ayodhya you find discipline, Maryada. And then you find in Vrindavan you find Madhurya, conjugal affection. But inside there is Navadvip, Mayapur. There you find Audharya, compassion. Jiverdaya, compassion philosophy. This compassion mode is the topmost mode of God, of Parameshwara. Karunya. He has so much mercy for the living entity. That mood of Krishna is the topmost mood. That is why that form of Krishna is the most worshipable. What is that form? That form is golden, has his hands raised like this, his tears in his eyes, and he is always crying. That is Krishna. That is the Gentleman. So this is Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So when Madhacharya, during his traveling, when he visited Navadvip, he had some questions on sacrifices. And the sacrifices which were performed in the age of faith. So he came to Shantipur, and in the unmanifested pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Madhvacharya, and they embraced. And then Mahaprabhu told Sripad Madhvacharya to complete his commentary and expose the Dvaita Vada. He should establish Dvaita philosophy, that living entity is different from Krishna. Everything is different from Krishna. Krishna and everything else. True. This way he established. And then he said later, I will come and explain the actual purpose of Yajna. Mahaprabhu told him to establish to his disciples, through his disciples, that sacrifices which are done in the age of Kali, which are not supposed to be done, they are all in the mode of ignorance. The real sacrifice for this age of Kali is Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalo nastaiva 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 vesidyanyata. Yajne sankirtanam praye yajanti bhikmeka. So Mahaprabhu told Madhvacharya that I would myself come and I will start this Sankirtan movement. At that time, I will take two principles from your philosophy. Because from each Sampradaya, Mahaprabhu takes two principles. And to each Sampradaya, he gave many principles. And he only took two, which are very essential. So the form of Krishna, the deity form of Krishna as truth, this one principle he took from Madhvalaya. And then the other principle is that the Mayavada Kantana, complete destruction of this stupid theory that God gets covered by illusion. And because Mahaprabhu was so pleased, the Madhvacharya practically destroyed the impersonal conception of philosophy. So he preferred to take initiation in the Madhvalaya. Mahaprabhu is God, he can take initiation from any line. Whatever line he takes initiation from will be glorified. So he took initiation from Madhvalaya. So this is our connection. And now, Madhvacharya's history is written by one of his disciples. He wrote a biography. This is known as Madhva Vijaya, or the conquerance of Madhva. There are two books. One is Brihat Madhva Vijaya, another is Anu Madhva Vijaya. Anu Madhva Vijaya is like our, for Prabhupada we have this small biography book, this small book. And then we have this big lifetime interpretation, etc. So like that, they wrote two biographies for Madhvacharya. So in this biography, everything is very detailedly given. Madhva, in their line, their understanding is Hanuman, Bhima, and Madhva. If you don't get the mercy of these three people, then you're finished. You have to get the mercy and blessing from these three personalities. And these three personalities are same person. And originally, who are these personalities? Originally are Vayu, So Vayu comes as Hanuman, and then he comes as Bhima, then he comes as Madhva. And according to their explanation, Shankaracharya is a demon, Rakshasa. He was in Dwapara Yuga by the name Maniman, and Bhima wrestled with him, punched him, but actually all that enmity he had in his heart, so he took birth as Shankaracharya, and he wrote a philosophy to nullify Krishna consciousness. But then, the same Bhima came as Madhva. This time he didn't wrestle with him. Instead he wrote a commentary, Purna Prajna Darshana. And by that commentary he killed that demon. Shankara is a demon and Madhva killed him. So this is the understanding in the Madhva life. So there are so many wonderful pastimes of Madhvacharya, and it is very difficult to tell all that. So we will just take a few of them and this is because how much you can do in 1 hour. So Madhvacharya was born in Padakakshetra, about 10 kilometers from Udupi village. If you go to Mangalore in Karnataka state in India, there is Mangalore. From Mangalore you travel for about 1 hour to go to Padakakshetra. This is where Madhva was born. At that time, the impressionists were so powerful that they drove the Bhagavatas to the mountains. The Vaishnavas, they couldn't live in plains anymore. And they just went and were taking shelter in the mountains. And one such family was Madhva's father. He was a great pandit. He knew Srimad Bhagavatam very well. But you cannot say that God is a person anymore. If you said that, you are considered as some Nishidha, some kind of a rejected person. You have to say, all one, all same, it's no different. This is what was going on. So the Bhagavatas closed their ears and they just took shelter in the mountain. This is how Bhagavad family moved from the plains to that side of the mountain. And when Madhva's parents, they went for a festival in Anandeshwar temple, the same temple that we had just 2 minutes ago. In that temple they went for a festival, and one man, he got inspired by some kind of a power, and he climbed up on the flag mast. And then he screamed. He said, "Why are you coming? Why are you coming?" Now look at what is this man doing on top of this flag mast? Then after holding the flag mast like this, he went on top of the flag mast, and on that pole he started dancing. That was a good thing. Dancing on a pole. Then he was telling, yes, why you will come? And he will destroy Nirvisheshava. He will destroy this impersonal philosophy. He will take birth very soon, very soon. And then he just became unconscious and fell from that pole. So everybody was going, who was going away from the festival, they were talking, did you hear that? Why you coming? He will come. Very strong. Why you mean the whole everything? Our God. And he comes, what will happen? I hope he doesn't come to our village. My doors are very big. They are talking like this. In this Brahmin also, in this wife, they were also talking. Why is he coming? Once he comes, then there will be a good time for Vaishnavas. Because then he will actually explain what it is. And they knew that they were carrying that wife, carrying their body. They didn't know. And then, after they reached back, they found out that that lady has conceived. And then very soon, Madhu was born. And she grew up. It is Brahmin society. They are learning Sanskrit, this and that. And his father is giving explanation of Bhagavad Puran. So one day, when the father is giving the explanation, he came to this place where it very clearly pointed out God is the person with form. So father skipped that word, because there were all kinds of people there, there would be trouble. So then Madhva, who was only 4 years old, he got up and he said, what about you didn't explain this one? God is a person. And then the father told his wife, take this kid away, take this kid away. Then the wife was taking the kid away, and the kid was crying and kissing the mother and shouting, God is a person, God is a person, God is a person. Then everyone said, hey, your son will teach you. You are not explaining, he is explaining. Then the father begged his pardon from everyone. I'm very sorry, my son is so fucked up. He's so much egoistic. Don't worry, I will slap him. He won't do this anymore. Then again, another day he was giving Bhagavatam class, and he was describing certain trees. There are 24 trees. And he spaced out a little bit. He missed names of 3 trees. Then Madhava was 5 years old, and he was playing on the other side. And then he just turned back and said, what about those 3 trees? And he was saying that. He said, this guy was playing there, and he's only 5 years old, and there's a list of 24 trees, and the father missed just 3 trees, and he is correcting, hey, what about these 3? Then they all came there and they told the father, you should tell your son to come and give some explanation. He said, what are you talking? He's 5 years old. He still does not know where to cast food. And you ask me to give explanation. I won't let my son do that. So then they went to Madhva. They said, you should come and give some explanation. So he said, what? I can explanation? Yes, I will do. And then he just came there and sat up and he started giving his explanation. And then he explained the world in so many different ways, this aspect, that aspect, that aspect, this aspect. And then finally those Brahmins who were sitting there, they said, oh, stop. I know, your head is burning. We can't understand, this is too much. And they told Madhva's father, maybe he's 100. They said, small boy, how do you know so much? Something else. You must do your bali. You are offering to Durga Devi, because there was a rock there. On top of the rock, there was a Durga temple. You must do some worship. You should tell your son to go there and do some worship. So then Madhva's father said, my dear son, you should go and you should worship Durga and get her blessing. So little Madhva, he climbed up the rock and he went in there. And there was some big festival going on. People were dancing, they were drumming. And then Madhva went there and he looked at it, and then he went to the deity room. And he looked, and there was this Durga Devi deity, 18 hands, sitting like this. Then Madhva looked at it, and then he looked in the heart of that Durga, and in the heart he found Krishna. Then he paid obeisance. Alright. So then he was leaving. So then Durga got up from inside the temple, with a tiger behind her, with 18 hands, with all the weapons, followed Madhva Chaldi. And then after all this jumping and dancing, they looked for Arati. There is no deity. The deity room is empty. And they all said, what happened to Durga? What happened to Durga? Look, Durga, where? His big deity, where did it go? And then someone looked down, and in the steps, Madhva is walking. He cannot climb the steps, a big step. So he's sitting down, and then he's going to the next step. And behind him is this big deity, with 18 hands, just walking behind him, so attracted by Madhva Chaldi. And then from there, he went to the Shiva temple, to Ananteshwar temple, with Durga behind him. He went to Ananteshwar temple, he looked there, he saw the Shiva Linga, he kept looking, and there he saw Lord Shiva, and inside the heart of Lord Shiva he saw Sankirtan. Then immediately he paid obeisance. Then he came out, and from that Shiva Linga emerged Lord Shiva. And with Durga, Lord Shiva walked behind him. Both temples, the deities left the temple. And they couldn't see the Shiva Linga anymore. So they are also so confused. They were all thinking where these people went. And then there was a sannyasi living there. His name was Achyuta Preshna. He was a very old man and very learned. And those guys, commentary means Shankara's commentary. There is no other commentary. Samanya's commentary is there. But commentary means, Bhashya means Shankara Bhashya. If you don't know Shankara Bhashya, you are useless. So he was studying Shankara Bhashya. He was studying also Ishta Siddhi, a great book which mentions that God and Jiva, they are one. And he had many disciples there. So Madhva was walking, and it was late evening, and the brahmacharis were outside somewhere doing some work in the garden. Achyuta Preshna was alone, and he was walking up and down, and he was thinking about this one verse in Ishta Siddhi, which he couldn't accept. He just couldn't accept that. He was thinking, how can Brahman be covered by illusion? How is that possible? And he was walking up and down, and he was thinking, am I Ishvara? Am I the controller? And if I am the controller, then how I am controlled? He was so confused. As he was walking up and down, then he saw this kid coming inside the temple. Madhva, he was coming there. And then he told his finger. Then he looked at Achyuta Preshna and he said, why you are so confused? It is always true. Like you and me, it is always true. It's never one. If you think you are me and I am you, then it is also one. The Achyuta Prakash picked up that baby and said, you have come to deliver me. So you are a great victory. And then he was throwing the baby up and down and catching hold. And then when he looked into that, he saw these two figures. One with 18 hands, another with the trident, with the trident, with three eyes. He Achyuta Prakash, he grabbed the baby and said, he paid his namaskar and he made all his stuti. And then Shiva and Durga had disappeared. And then Achyuta Prakash remembered that when his guru was leaving his body at the age of 90 years, he sent all the disciples out and he called Achyuta Prakash close by. Then he said that 80 years I have been studying Shankara Bhashya and preaching it to everyone and defeating others. Then he said, today I am dying. I have few more minutes and I can tell you the truth. I am not God and you are not God. This has to be explained. Though Shankara said it, it is not true. So then he told Achyuta Prakash, you should explain this. Achyuta Prakash said, what? I have to say something against Shankara. How can I do it? Where is my capacity to do that? So he said, listen to me. I was always saying it is illusion, illusion, illusion. Now I am dying and I know it is not illusion. It is true that I am dying. This is true. It is real that I am dying. It is not Maya. It is true. So you have to do this. This is my last wish. You should establish what is truth. And you should destroy this Mayavad. I have wasted my life in studying this Mayavad. Now I am dying and I have no hope. And he was a great astronomer. Achyuta Prakash said, please, before you die, at least tell me, how will I do it? So then he closed his eyes. Then he smiled. Then he said, your disciple will do it. And that disciple, when he comes, with him will come Lord Shiva and Durga. Then you identify him. He is the person. So Achyuta Prakash remembered, here is that child, because he said it is true. And he said he is very confident about it. And I am so confused about it. I am 80 years old, he is only 6 years old, but he looks like he knows and I don't know. So then he said, my dear child, you made me so happy. Here is some sugar candy. Take it. So he gave him some sugar candy. He took the sugar candy and he was very happy. And then Achyuta Prakash said, please chant a Sanskrit verse. I'd like to hear from you. So he chanted a verse which said that Lord is a person and he is always a person. His energies are free. He never gets covered by his energies. And the Jiva is different from the Lord. From the Vishnu Purana. Then Achyuta Prakash said, you learned this verse from somewhere. So then Madhva looked at him and said, did you learn somewhere how to breathe? So then Achyuta Prakash said, what are you saying? No, did you learn somewhere how to breathe? He said, breathing, it's natural. It's natural for me to say these things too. I don't have to learn them. So then he said, but I have come here as your disciple. You lie down, I will give you massage. And he was giving massage. And Madhva's beautiful sister, with the mother, they came to redeem him from the mud. So the mother came and told, my dear son, he said, Guru Maharaj is sleeping. So then the sister said, why are you leaving home and you are sitting with this Sadhu Baba? So then mother said, it is our arrangement of Vasudeva. So then the sister said, Vasudeva told you to do like this. And he said, yes, he told me to do like this. So, but Vasudeva, he also said you should never leave home, you should serve parents. And Vasudeva did not tell you, you leave your sister, you leave without you, you will die like this, I don't like this. He cried. So then Madhva said, go home and cast aside the parents. I will not leave home unless they have a son. Don't worry. So then the father came in the day. He went to Achyuta Prakash and he said, what is this? Huh? My son, he's so small and you are a sannyasi He is wearing this red cloth, and you are taking him, you are giving him sugar candy, and he is not coming home. This is not very good. I want sugar candy also. So then, Asura Prasad said, but I didn't come and get your son. He walked in here by himself, and he was followed by some great people. And now, you call him. If he wants to go, he can go. So then the father said, why don't you come? If you are not there, then I don't have anybody. This is Dharma Viruddha. He shouldn't do it. He should end it. So then Madhva looked at Asura Prasad and said, oh, all right, so I am going home. When he gets a son, then I will come. So he went home. But every day, he would simply go to the ocean side, and he will sit there, and he will look at the waves. And as the waves move like this, and hearing the sound, he will compare it with the different Vedic texts. He will be just chanting them, and he will be looking at the ocean. And at one particular point, he knew that other son has come. So he told his father, you have got another son, so I am going. And he said, where? I mean, you don't know, he never got one. If you ask your wife, she will tell you, she has conceived. So he went and asked the wife. The wife said, yes, it's true. I have one month. Then the father, what is this kid? How did he know this? He was looking at the waves. So then the wife said, he's a very great person. You remember, when he was only 4 years old, he was teaching Bhagavatam that you missed. He's not an ordinary person. So the son was born again, the second son, Madhusaya left. Went to the Prasad, touched his feet, and he said, give me sannyas. So Asura Prasad gave him sannyas, and gave him the name, Ananda Tirtha. So now Ananda Tirtha is there, then he has to study. So the Guru started teaching him. They were studying especially best books to study in the beginning. So he started, especially invocation verse says, because Brahman is everywhere, it is inside me, I am paying obeisance to myself. This is the invocation. So as soon as this verse was chanted, little Madhva said, Dad, I have a question. He said, what? We didn't even start the book yet. This is only invocation. I have a question on the invocation. Question on the invocation. I have never experienced this before. I have been teaching 60 years this book. I know it back to front. Then Madhva said, this is the main problem. You know it back to front. Now we should know it from front to back. Now I will tell you, this book is bogus. The first time got up, he said, Ananda Tirtha, you must be careful. You are talking to the Guru. So then he said, you just said that everywhere there is Brahman, you pay obeisances to yourself. So that is the question of Guru and Shishya. You are Guru, I am the Shishya, we are all one. So what's the question of me disrespecting you? It's all one. That's true. That's true. So why should he respect me? And why should I get upset that he is not respecting me? If we are all one, so that's the question of respecting anybody. Asura Prasad closed the book, and he went in one corner and sat down. He started thinking. That day he didn't eat. Even Madhvacharya didn't eat. And nobody ate in the mat. Everybody was starving. And then other disciples came to Madhva and they said, why are you saying all these things to our Guru? And he is not eating. He is a very old man. He shouldn't do this. Then Madhva said, you have been learning this book so long. Did you ever think that why you say obeisances to yourself? Yeah, this bunch of useless people. Get out of here. So they couldn't say anything. The next day morning, Asura Prasad was taken back. So Madhva went to him. He touched his feet and he said, I am very sorry if I insulted you. And Asura Prasad said, you didn't insult me. You taught me something good. How can anyone pay obeisances to himself? That is so bad. So then Madhva said, yeah, but Ishta Siddhi is a great book. That book is bogus. Madhva said, but he is like your Guru. You shouldn't be telling about him like that. If he is my Guru, why did he say everything is Brahman? So there is nothing wrong in shouting against him. All his books, they are all useless. And then he came back, sat down, then he called Ananda Tirtha. Come here, you tell me, what is it all about? So this young boy was there and he said, it's very simple. Keshavat Paradaram Nasti. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. The person, sounds so good. Tell more. And you are his part and parcel. I always felt like that. But you have to have a commentary. Then only you can do it. You have to write a commentary. But I said, I have already started it. I am already writing a commentary on Bhagavad Gita. I came here to get your permission. I want to go on a pilgrimage. So actually the Prabhupada said, pilgrimage? I will also go with you. Mother said, no, he is so old. You have to walk all this distance. You will have difficulty. I said, what is the problem? You are there to take care of me. I will go also. Let us start. Let's go travel. So then they walked out of the mud with 3 disciples. And Madhya was also there. And they were going into a village. And then the Brahmins came. Natarmanana prajajatane natyate naite amritatvamana sahu orni nanakam nijitam kuhajam viprajati yatyatayu vichanti ekanta dikshyo nasunishchitarta sanyasa yogatyakajasuddha Sattvaha Shri Brahma Gope Tuparahantaka Deepadam Vishwari Muktan Sattari. They were receiving them. Yasi. So then as Madhva came in, then after the Prasha said, they sat down under a banyan tree. The Prasha said, come on, speak. Then Madhva said, Adhato Brahma Jigyasa. This means, one should inquire, that is Krishna. The Brahma is here. What is this? Krishna? And they looked at each other. See, what is he saying? He is Krishna. Brahma. Why Brahma? What's your problem? No. I didn't ask you. That's the second what you said. Now, what do we know? You know better. You are just Jnani. Please tell us. So, Brahma means Krishna. So then somebody said, but what about Surya? Surya is also Krishna. It's only Krishna. Krishna is God. Anybody has objection? You have not just over there with Shankaraman. I will not ask you. So then the Shankara Sannyasi was coming that way. Satyam Jnanam Anandam Brahma Shivoham. Then Madhacharya said, he just looked at them and he said, so some donkeys say they think that they are also Krishna. They simply Dhartava. Their Jnana is like donkey's knowledge. The donkey is thinking that he is the king of the world because he is carrying some cloth on his back, but he is naked. What is the use of this knowledge? These are just Gargava. The Sankaracharya was there from Sringeri Math, and he was there. He said, what is going on here? So he came in there, and he said, aha! So Madhacharya said, aha! So then the sannyasi, he was all upset. His whole empire is broken. He's never been confronted by anybody. So he was shivering his hands and all that. He said, he said, what do you want? But Shankaracharya gave the Vaishya. That is the trouble. He started all this trouble. If you speak that Vaishya, I will break your nose. Sannyasi, why you are sick? Mother says, coolly sitting there and says, it's all one anyway, what's your problem? So then he said, but you have to have a commentary, then only you can speak like this. You think you can make a commentary on the Brahma Sutra? So Mother says, I'm already writing it. And then he looked at each other and he said, everything you said he has answered. Now what to do? And he said, it's not a good time for us. We should leave. Then Madhacharya looked at the audience and he said, just a bunch of fools. Why you listen to these people? Then he said, Anandamayo Bhyasad. This person, Krishna, he is full of quality. He is only Ananda. And all these Anandas are simply dukkha. They are simply misery. They call themselves as Ananda, but they have no Ananda. And he went down like this. And actually the professor was sitting there, tears coming from his eyes, and hair standing on end. And every time the lecture finished, he would get up with his old body, and he would go to Madhvacharya, and he would embrace him, and he said, "Oh, Ananda Tirtha, what will I say? Whatever my Guru said became true. And you are the deliverer of everyone. You please continue writing this book." And then the small pilgrimage was over, and Ajahn Prasad came back to the monk. Then Madhvacharya said that I want to go to Badrinath. He has completed his Bhagavad Gita Bhashya. He wanted to check it with somebody. Somebody should edit it. Who has the audacity to edit Srimad Bhagavad Gita commentary? Somebody must be bigger than him to do that. So he found out the person where he should do it. That was Vyasadeva himself. So he made up his mind to go to Vyasadeva and ask him, "Is this book all right? What do you think?" So then Madhva started. By this time he has already defeated Buddhists, so many Shankarites, one Buddhist son, and they were sitting both looking at each other. So the Prasad said, "All right, you start argument." So the Buddhist said, "Everything is nothing." So then Madhvacharya said, "So why are you talking? It's nothing." He said, "It's all it's nothing. That's what I said. Why you say that? It's nothing. How can you say? It's nothing there. So why do you speak that?" So he said, "I will argue tomorrow." Madhvacharya said, "Why tomorrow? Argue today." He said, "No, tomorrow." Madhvacharya said, "No, today. This time you prove everything is nothing. So why are you coming tomorrow?" Then he turned to the Prasad, the Buddhist. Then he said, "Can I come tomorrow?" He said, "Anything you want, no problem, you come tomorrow. But remember, Ananda Tirtha will be here tomorrow too." Don't forget that point. So then he went, he packed up and he left. He never came back. In this way, Madhva is already demolishing all these terms. And then, this is Bhagavad Gita. He went to Badrinath. As he reached Badrinath, they went to this place, one cave where they were staying. And he told his disciples, "You all stay here. You only stay here, and I will go up and I will see Vyasadeva." So the disciples, they were very concerned. Guru Maharaj is going, there must be some service, we should go. And they all fought to go. Another Madhvacharya said, "No, you cannot come with me. It's very difficult to climb these mountains. You stay here, I will go." So they said yes, but one disciple, he was just hiding, and as Madhva was going, he was just hiding there behind the trees and just following him. And Madhva was going this speed, and then this speed, and then that speed, then he started running, and then he came to a peak. There was a big valley in between, 60,000 feet down. And then from that peak, he just lifted his foot and jumped to the next peak. And this poor fellow, he was sitting there, he couldn't do it. And he was thinking, how will I go? When he looked back, he couldn't go down either. It was so difficult. He couldn't go further. He couldn't go back. Then he cried, "Guru Maharaj! Guru Maharaj! Madhvacharya was on the 6th peak by this time. And he looked down. He said, "Who is that?" There was this fellow there on top of that mountain. And he was praying, "Please get me somewhere." So Madhvacharya put his hand on his mouth and he blew. So from that peak, he just came 56 miles down and he dropped right there, they were saying. And the disciples were all talking something and suddenly this thing came. "Hey, what is that?" And he was, they sprinkled water, waked him up. "What happened to you?" "Oh, Guru Maharaj, he was flying." And he just blew, some big storm came and I ended up here. So anyway, Madhva kept going. Then he found Vyasadeva in Badrinarayan, Uttar Badrinarayan. And Vyasadeva, he received him, blessed him. Then he said, "Why did you make this mistake in your Bhagavad Gita commentary?" "What mistake I did? This is why I came here. Because the senses are imperfect, there is seeking propensity. No one can make laws in this world. It is not possible. I am such a stupid fellow. Please explain to me what mistake I did." So Vyasadeva said, "Very beautiful mistake." Please tell me, when you open the book, I checked it so many times. Then Vyasadeva said, "Why did you say